All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 12 next affordable rental units that are being made available in the fifth and sixth phase of the lotteries that have been held at Richmond Meadows 2 in Nantucket. So I'll get the lottery underway in just a few moments. First, just want to give you some background information on who applied and how this is going to go. If you have any questions during the meeting, if you are joined by your phone, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question. If you would rather type your question into the chat function in Zoom, that is fine as well. When you came into the meeting, you should have heard that the meeting was being recorded, and that's because anyone who wasn't able to join tonight that wants to watch the lottery can do so after tonight, because we're going to post the recording on our website and on SEB Housing's YouTube channel. So you're muted just to make sure that any outside noise is minimized. So just some background information. A lot of this information is going to be provided to you in an attachment that is sent in an email after tonight's lottery. But all households should already have their lottery application number that was sent to you by email when you were approved for the lottery. So that's the number that's in the form of a series of numbers. So for example, A.001 or A.0100, whatever it might be. In this case, the numbers are between A.001 and A.0141 because there was 141 applicants in this lottery. There's 12 affordable units, and there's going to be the 141 households in the lottery. So there's 3 total studio apartments. One of those studios is reserved for households with incomes of no more than 80% of the area median income for Nantucket. For the 80% studio, there was 41 applicants, and then there's also 2 studios that are reserved for households with incomes with incomes that are not higher than 120% of the area median income. There's 33 applicants that qualified for those studios. There's also 7 one-bedroom apartments. One of those one bedrooms is an 80% area median income unit. There was 71 applicants for those one bedrooms. There's also 4 110% one bedrooms. There was 58 applicants for those. And there's also 2 one-bedroom units that are reserved for applicants that make up to 120% of the area median income, and that's 47 applicants for those units. Finally, there's 2 two-bedroom units. One is a 110% unit. There's 68 applicants, and the other is 120% AMI unit, and that is for that. The applicants were 64 applicants for that one. So basically, there's multiple income tiers for this lottery, as you've probably read. So depending on what your household income is, you qualified for one or more of those income tiers, either 80%, 110%, or 120% of the area median income for Nantucket. Back when you completed your application, you indicated, and then SEB Housing confirmed whether or not your household was a type 1 or type 2 household. And just want to mention that because you want to keep in mind that on the 2-bedroom waiting list for this lottery, type 2 households are going to have priority over any type 1 households that applied for the 2 bedrooms. And that is because the affordable housing program is designed so that households don't have priority for larger units than they might actually require. Also, there's a local preference or priority for several of the units. So if you answered yes to that local preference question on the application, your lottery eligibility email confirmed that you were going to be a local preference household. Finally, there was a 1-bedroom that is equipped with accessibility features, but there was no applicants in this lottery that required those features. So that 1-bedroom unit is going to be available for households on the general 1-bedroom 120% waiting list, since it's not needed by a household that needs the accessibility features. So the reason I just told you all that was because of these priorities on each of the waiting lists. When the drawing and the lottery takes place in a few moments, you're not going to know exactly where you fall on the waiting list just yet. I have to sort the results after this meeting. So if you see that you were pulled first, that doesn't mean you're first on any waiting list yet. but it should give you an idea as to whether or not you, have a favorable position on any of the waiting lists. So just wanted to mention that because, like I said, I still have to sort all these results. You're not going to know all that much during this meeting, but we do want to make everything transparent so you're able to view the lottery. So there's going to be 2 lottery drawings tonight. I'm going to be doing this digitally, so I'm going to be using a website called random.org to complete the drawing. First, I'll be doing the local preference drawing. There was 117 households that qualify for local preference in this lottery. So when I do that local preference drawing, I'm going to insert the numbers of 117 households. Those are the local preference households into this website that's going to spit them back out in a random order, and that will be the drawing for the local preference households. Then I'll do the same thing for the general drawing, which will include all 141 applicants. It's a randomization that's instantaneous, so all the lottery numbers will just be spit back out to us in a random order. And the idea is that is truly random, that the computer is doing that for us. So I'm going to screen share with you now just to show you kind of what that is going to look like. So just bear with me one second while I get on that website. If I don't sneeze first. I just have one question here. If I didn't get an applicant number after getting confirmation of submitting an application, does that mean we're not in the lottery? Yes, unless maybe the email went to spam or something. If you submitted an application and didn't get a response from SCB Housing at all, then we likely didn't receive the application. But if you had been in touch with the person who was processing these applications, you should have been in touch with my colleague and gone back and forth with confirming that you submitted everything that was needed, and you would have then got an email from him saying that you were approved or denied. So I would urge you, if you don't have that number, I would urge you to go back to the emails that you had with him and let us know at info@scbhousing.com so we can look into that for you. So I'm going to share my screen now. And this is the website that I'm talking about. So you will see this again in just a few moments. So I'm going to go to List Randomizer. When I do the drawings, the lottery application numbers are going to be copied and pasted into this box. Just for demonstration purposes, right now I'm going to write in the numbers 1 through 5. When I click randomize, it's going to return it to me in a random order, which is what it's going to do when I do the drawing as well. So again, this isn't the drawing or anything. This is just for demonstration, but this is what it's going to look like. Although when I put in the application numbers, it will be the numbers, not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is in there. I'm going to randomize, and it spit back out the numbers. Number 4 came out first. 1 was second, and so forth. So that's what the drawing in this case is going to look like. There's going to be 2 of them. There's going to be the local preference drawing and the general drawing. And the reason that we do 2 of those is because I need an order of priority for both local preference households for the local preference list, and then I need an order of priority for everyone because there is no local preference on some of the lists that are just the general waiting list. So I'm going to share my screen again in just a few minutes once I'm ready to do the drawing. Just a couple more things that I wanted to let you know before I do that. So as I mentioned, you're not going to really know too much during this meeting tonight, but immediately after the lottery tonight, I'm going to be working on sorting the waiting list. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the results from the lottery and I'm sorting everyone onto the waiting list that they were eligible for based on these different priorities. So you'll get an email from me tomorrow morning at the latest, hopefully tonight. And there'll be a copy of the waiting list attached. There will be multiple attachments because there's going to be a lottery handout that just has some information that I've been going through tonight, and then also some information on next steps, and the waiting list themselves will be attached. Keep in mind that if you were interested in more than one unit size, you're going to be on more than one waiting list. Or if you were eligible for more than one income tier, so maybe you're eligible for both 110% and 120% AMI. If that's the case, you're going to be on more than one waiting list. So just make sure to look for your application number on more than one list. If you're looking at it on a computer, you should be able to do the control find and find it fairly quickly. When you get that email with the waiting list, you're going to see that the top households on each waiting list are going to be highlighted in green. That's just indicating that those households are going to be invited forward right away to complete the next step in the process, which is to complete the lease screening with the leasing office over at Richmond Meadows. So that'll be, lease screening might entail, rental history checks, background checks, credit checks, that sort of thing. And we will share your contact information with the leasing office after tonight, and we'll also share their contact information with you so you can coordinate that lease screening. Keep in mind, too, that leasing offices are likely going to invite more households than they have available units to complete that lease screening. That's because, a lot of times applicants drop off the waiting list, they're ineligible, or they change their mind about renting a unit. So they want to speed the process up by inviting more households forward to account for that. If you're found to be lease eligible, the household with the highest position on the waiting list will have the first chance to select and reserve one of the units. If you're not one of those top households, if you don't get called forward right away, you will not be moving forward at this time. You will be moving forward if everyone ahead of you falls off the waiting list for one reason or another. So just keep that in mind. The waiting list order will be honored. So if, say, you're 8th on a waiting list and the 7 people ahead of you did not lease the unit, you will be contacted to move forward in the process. And it's important to keep in mind, too, that we haven't done any income screenings for any of the households on this lottery yet. You've been found eligible for the lottery based off of what your self-reported income was on your lottery application. So you still have that lease screening with the leasing office. You're going to have the program income screening with SCB Housing after that. So if you're renting somewhere now, we always tell everyone, don't give notice, even if you're the first person on any of these waiting lists. Don't give notice right away until you've reserved one of the apartments and been found eligible by both SCB Housing and the leasing office. You should have also received a documentation requirements guide when you were approved for the lottery and you received your lottery application number. That's just a guide that's going to help you kind of get ready for that income screening that I mentioned, one of the last steps in this process. It's going to tell you how many pay stubs you might need to send in, asset statements, and that sort of thing. So it's just kind of gearing you up for what's needed later on in this process. Richmond Meadows has told us that the first affordable units should be ready now or ready soon after the lottery takes place. So there shouldn't be much of a wait at all after applicants complete all of these screenings that I'm mentioning. And then finally, just a reminder, if you're not familiar, we always just like to remind households that if you're living in an affordable apartment, you will need to do a recertification each year with the leasing office. So you want to maintain, a folder of some sort to maintain some of your, tax returns, income records, bank statements, that sort of thing, because they will be asking for that about 9 months after you move in, just to gear up for that lease renewal date at your 1-year anniversary if you wanted to stay in the apartment. So before I do the drawings, I just saw that there was one more chat question here that came in. If I delete the Gmail by accident, what's going to happen? I have my number, but nothing else. That's fine. We can forward you any email that you may have misplaced. You really just need the number for now, and then you'll be able to, you'll have all kinds of emails coming in after tonight. We have your email address and all that. So yeah, nothing else in there that you really needed other than just confirming that the waiting list that you are placed on after tonight were the ones that you were qualified for. Any other questions? I'm going to do the local preference drawings first. I'm going to share my screen again once I do that. And then, like I said, the actual waiting list will come to you later on tonight once I've sorted the results based on the preferences that I mentioned. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. Just a second. I pulled up the website again, random.org. And let me share the screen here. All right, so the list randomizer is right here. Before I go in there, this is the local drawing household. I have all of the application numbers over here. Like I said, there's 117 of them. So if I scroll down, it's going to select 117 application numbers. It says 118 in the column, in the header over there, but that's because there is a column header. So I'm going to copy and paste these into the list randomizer, and this is going to be the local preference drawing for Richmond Meadows. This is the second lottery for phases 5 and 6, and this is the local preference drawing. So like it says, there's 117 items. Applicant number A.114 was the first drawn here. I'm going to go ahead and just select all of this to put it into a more readable format for everyone. So just bear with me 1 minute here. And at the end of both of the drawings, I'll be able to tell you where your number was drawn. Give me a moment here. I'm gonna hide this so we don't confuse anyone. All right, so these are the results for the local drawing. As you can see, it goes all the way down to position 117, and these are the local preference households, the application numbers for everyone. So before I show you the results there in more detail, I'm just going to do the general drawing while I'm in here. And so the general drawing, I have all 141 numbers over here. I'm going to go through it the long way here. And I'm going to select everyone. I'm going to go back to just the main website here. And we're going to go to the list randomizer. And this is going to be the general drawing for Richmond Meadows, phases 5 and 6, the second lottery. We had another lottery, I think, about a year ago for these units, different units, but same property. So I'm going to click randomize again. This is the 141. Everyone who was in the lottery has a position here. And I'm going to just copy the results so I have those. And I'm going to put them into my spreadsheet so everybody can a little more easily see it once I scroll through. Just going to do this again. And I'm going to hide this part here. All right, so it was as easy as that. I mean, for the drawing, you know, we used to do a drawing, even large drawings like this with note cards, but this is a little more foolproof here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the local drawing here. I'm going to try to maximize this a little more, so hopefully you can see it a little better. This is the local drawing. I'm going to scroll down. So you should see your application number here if you were one of the local preference households. I know it was most people in this lottery are local preference. So I'll scroll down here and then I'll go to the general drawing and scroll down those results as well. After I do that, if you don't see your number, let me know. You can either send your number in the chat function and I can look it up for you, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So that's the end of the local drawing results. And I'm going to go over to the general drawing. This is going to have everybody. This is the first 15 or so numbers here. I'm going to scroll down and give you an opportunity to take a look. Again, this is not the waiting list. I first need to sort these results. We don't know, just looking at these application numbers, we don't know who applied for a studio, who applied for one or two bedrooms either. So it doesn't tell you a whole lot knowing what your placement in the lottery was, but your placement on the waiting list will be much more important for you to know. All right, so that's the end there. I know I have some questions coming in to the chat, so I'm going to pull those up. Yep, the first one here, A.054. So I'm going to put that in. Hold on, let me just do it so that we can see both local. Okay, so A.054, you were drawn 94th in the local drawing. In the general drawing, you were drawn 66th. All right, the next one here is number 13. So A.013. You were drawn 98th in the local drawing. And in the general drawing, you were 56th. A.079. A.079, you were drawn 49th in the general drawing and 16th in the local drawing. 043, your application number was 54th in the general drawing, and 54th in the local drawing, and 54th in the general drawing. What are the chances of that? Yep, you're 54th on both lists. A.01, actually, it might be 0. Yeah, it's not 0. A.109. A.109, you were drawn 55th in the local drawing and 124th in the general drawing. A.088, you were drawn 130th in the general drawing, and you were not on the local list. 078, you were drawn 95th in the general drawing, and you were not on the local list either. A.002, you were drawn 68th in the general drawing and 78th in the local drawing. A.028, you were 61st in the local drawing and 105th in the general drawing. A.68, you were 97th in the general drawing and 102nd in the local drawing. A.107, you were drawn 93rd in the local drawing and 75th in the general drawing. 072 was drawn 72nd in the general drawing, and you were not on the local list. 097 was drawn 67th in the general drawing and 9th in the local drawing. 016, you were drawn 46th in the local drawing and 113th in the general drawing. Got a couple more here. 075, you were drawn 21st in the general drawing and 80th in the local drawing. That was 075. A.101. A.101, you were 97th in the local drawing and 48th in the general drawing. I think that's everybody that had messaged. That might have been all of the attendees because there's 30 people, I think, here. So like I said, these results don't tell you a whole lot right now. You might be 30th on a list, but half of the people ahead of you on this drawing list might have applied for unit sizes that you weren't interested in or weren't eligible for, or it might look like you're first right now, and you might actually not have local preference on some of these lists. So it doesn't tell you a whole lot right now, but like I said, I'm going to sort the results tonight, and you'll get an email with the actual waiting list. So you'll see your lottery application number on one or more of those waiting lists. And at that point, you'll be able to kind of have a better sense as to whether or not you're going to be moving forward to the next step in the process, which is that lease screening by the leasing office. So any questions before I let you go? You'll be hearing from us either from info@sebhousing.com or no reply at sebhousing.com. Those are the two email addresses that you might get an email from us from. It doesn't mean you can't reply, even though it says no reply, but you can just email any questions at all that you have to info@sebhousing.com, and we'll get back to you. But you'll be hearing from us later on tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, sorry. Any other questions?
Yes, so if we didn't hear our number, that means so we are not listed in this join?
No, so the numbers that I just called off were the applicants who were asking in the messages where they fell in the lottery. So everyone who has a application number in this drawing has a position on this waiting list. So if you didn't hear your number, or if you didn't see it on the screen, I think you're joined by phone. If you want to let me know the number, I can look it up for you, and I can tell you where you were.
Yes, my number is A067.
A067. Yep, you were drawn in the general drawing, you were 60th, and in the local drawing, you were 72nd. So again, it doesn't tell you a whole lot, but you're on there. You'll be on the waiting list that you are eligible for. And then I have another question here, A.139. And A139, you were 58th in the general drawing, and you were 67th in the local drawing. Oh, got a couple more here, excuse me. A137, you were 75th in the local drawing and 112th in the general drawing. I'm going to share my screen again just so you guys can see what I'm looking at. A.015, you were drawn 44th in the general drawing and 58th in the local drawing. So again, everyone who was found eligible for this lottery has a place in on these drawing lists. You were entered into the lottery. You'll have a spot on the list that I just randomized here, and then you'll have a spot on at least one of the waiting lists, probably more. I think most people qualified for more than one income tier or more than one household size, because there's both studios and one bedrooms, for example. Any other questions? I'm going to sort the results. You'll hear from us tonight, hopefully, and we'll go from there. All right, one more, 055. Local drawing, you were 113th. On the general drawing, you were 12th. 076, you were 48th in the local drawing. And 139th in the general drawing. 135, you were 71st in the general drawing and 23rd in the local drawing. 001, you were 69th in the local drawing and 36th in the general drawing. Local drawing versus general drawing, what does it mean? So households who have local preference, so they either work full-time in Nantucket, they live full-time in Nantucket, they have a child going to school full-time in Nantucket, you indicated on your application that you have local preference, which means on some of these waiting lists, that will be sent to you. That means that you would have priority over households of the same household type or size that don't have local preference. That's not true for all of these units, but it's true for some of them. 70% of the units have local preference. So I have to do 2 drawings because I need an order of priority for both groups, both the full general drawing and the local drawing when I'm sorting these results. So that's kind of the breakdown of that. Anyone else? All right, like I said, you'll hear from us hopefully tonight. If not by tomorrow morning, you'll have the waiting list, and you'll be able. It will make a lot more sense once you have those actual results in hand, because this lottery process is really just one step in the process. And I appreciate you all joining in and for the questions.
Yeah, so even though our number does not call, are we still going to get an email whether we're
Yeah,
fall?
everyone who qualified for this lottery is going to get the email. Everyone who had a local a application number
Yeah.
is going to get the waiting list and all of that, because you don't know right now whether or not you're have a favorable position on the waiting list or if you're at the bottom of the waiting list yet, because these results don't really tell you a whole lot until they're
Okay.
sorted. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Same to you.
Touch soon.